again guys, it's Carly from the Poetry of Nice and I'm back with another weekly reseller comment roundup. If you're new to my channel, welcome. This is a channel all about reselling online. I resell on Etsy, Poshmark and on eBay, and I do it while being a stay-at-home parent to 3 little boys, and it's a way for me to make a good part-time income to help us go on vacation, pay down debt and all kinds of other cool stuff. If that sounds interesting to you, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to say hello in the comments as well so that I can say hello back. Alright you guys, so let's crack on. I'm going to be doing the usual thing with my phone, and I'm going to pull up each of the 5 comments. I will put them on the screen as well so that you can read them for yourself and I will answer them. So number 1 is from Kimberly Robinson. Hi Carly, thanks for the video again. Question for you. How long do you wait for payment before relisting? Just curious because I'm waiting on payment for something. Thanks for the input and have a great weekend. Alright Kim, that is such a good question. So that has evolved for me over time. Poshmark, it's not an issue. Etsy is not an issue because both of those platforms require payment immediately. eBay is where these issues can arise, I suppose. So on eBay you can select immediate payment, but that would also mean that you do not have the opportunity to take best offers. I currently, for the majority of my items, charge shipping and accept best offers to try and offset that in like search algorithm, whatever. But for the most part I have best offer, and so that I cannot request immediate payment, which means that I do end up with unpaid item cases. I actually had a really bad week last week with, I think 5 items went to unpaid item cases and ended up having to be relisted. Sometimes it happens, just comes in ebbs and flows, but here is where I am right now with my strategy for dealing with that. So currently I give my buyer 1 full day, 24 hours before I reach out and say anything to them. I'm not intending to be a bother, but this process of the unpaid item and like relisting and stuff like that, and the cases that you have to open up and let run for a certain amount of days before you can close that case again, that does take up time, and that's an amount of time where your item is not on the market able to be purchased by anybody else, which is not good as a seller. So I give them a full 24 hours and then I send out the invoice that you can do through eBay. It's like an automatic invoice that you can, it's already templated, it's already there, and it just says a really nice like, hello, I'd love to package up your item and get it to you, but I can't do that until you've paid. Are you willing to pay? Something along those lines. So I send that out and then that's it. I leave it alone. I do not keep messaging them or anything like that because, like I said, I want to be respectful and all that kind of stuff as well, and that usually doesn't end well in my experience if you're kind of hounding them for payment. So what I do is I do that on day 1, and then come day 3 I will open an unpaid item case if I haven't heard anything from them. Sometimes people will reach out when I send out that invoice and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't get paid till Friday, and me personally, I'm okay with that depending on the item. Like I'm okay giving a little bit of leeway. Now come Saturday morning, if I haven't heard anything and they haven't paid, I go right ahead and open that unpaid item case or close it depending where I am in the process. So right now we're at day 1, invoice. Day 3, open an unpaid item case. I think, don't quote me, I think it takes about 5 days from there for the unpaid item case to run its course in terms of giving the buyer the option to pay, and then you can go in and close. And I keep an eye on those cases. I check every single day, and the moment that I am able to close them, I don't reach out to my buyers again. That's just a personal preference. It's about time management and things like that for me. I close it and I go ahead and relist. Never relist an item until you have confirmation on your screen from eBay that that case is closed. You don't want them to suddenly spring up on day 9 and pay for your item and it have just sold to someone else. Now the chances of that happening are pretty darn slim, but you want to cover your own back and be, like I said, strategic about the whole thing. So make sure you're sort of dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's before you're relisting. And then I relist immediately. As soon as that unpaid item is closed, I go ahead and there's a little button that you can usually click that says like relist this item, and I go straight in and do it. And then I'll usually go over to my other platforms, like if it's cross-listed on Poshmark, and I'll go ahead and like reactivate that listing as well and move it to the top of my closet so that I can get to sharing it and other people can too, to hopefully stimulate that item to sell all over again, which it almost always does. Okay, so comment number 2 this week comes from Tam's Place, and she says, Carly, I really like your channel, always look forward to your videos. Thank you so much. Question, do you curate your closet to a specific style? No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. So it's all about priorities for me right now. I actually in the future would really like to curate my closet a little more carefully. I'm not sure yet if I would lean more towards like contemporary clothing or the vintage clothing that I tend to specialize in. At the moment, I've just sort of ended up there in that section. I don't know which one I would do, or maybe like a mixture of both, but definitely something that is more intentional aesthetically. I would really like to do that. And I think in a way, that's when I will feel like I'm moving forward in my business and my branding. But right now, my priority is finishing off our debt payoff. We are very, very, very close. The reason why I don't mind to focus on selling a lot of like lower end items and making like fast flips and things like that at the moment is because all that money is going towards either reinvestment in my low cost of goods inventory, or it's going to pay off that debt. We are very close right now to finishing off all of our debt other than our house. It's been a long journey, years and years and years, and this secondary income has been a really big component of that. But I don't feel like I want to risk a slowdown in sales or having to invest more money in, like, I suppose you could say a higher quality product. That's not really what I mean. Like, I make sure all of my items are in good condition and are of good quality, but I mean like being more intentional how I seek them and sort of slowing down that process, if you will. I'm not ready to do that yet, not until this goal has been met. So once that has happened, which is going to be this year at some point, hopefully in the first like quarter to half of the year, I am actually going to start exploring curation a little bit more and what it is to brand my resale business, whether or not that's vintage or contemporary, I'm just not sure. But stay tuned if you're interested in that and kind of how that journey is going to unfold, because I'm definitely going to be documenting that too. Alright, so comment number 3 is from Vintage Sunset Beach. Maybe this is unrelated to your content, but I'm just going to throw this out. Go for it. Do you have a resource for clothing descriptions? I'm starting out on Poshmark and many times don't know the terminology for describing the items, i.e. band collar versus stand-up collar, sleeve types, hem types, etc. What a good question. Yeah, so keywords to do with like style and fit and all that kind of stuff are absolutely important when it comes to constructing a good title and drawing people into your items and into your closet and all that kind of stuff. And also it's very professional and it helps you in terms of like search and things like that when people are looking for specific items. So that's definitely important. I would say my resource where I started out, not only did I watch other people on YouTube and learn some terminology that way, which I did a lot, like always on in the background style, but I also went to Pinterest is where I would point you in the direction. So go to Pinterest and start yourself a board, and you can Google there literally like sleeve types, neckline types, hem types, dress types, pants type, like all that kind of stuff. That search should bring up for you these wonderful like sheets where it shows you all of the different types with all of the specific names, and so that is going to be a wonderful reference point. I actually printed those out when I first started and kept them in a little file folder, so every time I would have a dress or something where I didn't know what I was looking at necessarily, I could pull out my dresses and my necklines and my sleeves and things like that, and I could take a look and see what fit into that category best. Nowadays I do still use it. I actually just go to Pinterest. I don't use the printouts anymore, and I will sort of Google if I think I know. I'll just Google what it is and see if it matches up with what I'm looking at. I know a lot more now off the top of my head, obviously just haven't done this for 4 years, but that is where I would start. It's such a good resource and you just learn as you go. Just, you know, look everything up, take a couple of minutes each item and make sure that you are understanding the different cuts and the different fits and things like that, and make yourself a Pinterest board that you can look at whenever you need to. Okay, so comment number 4 is from Bonnie Brown, and it says, love your video, I get so much good information from you. I'm so glad that I can help in any small way. Could I ask you, do you wash your clothes? And if you do you use fabric softener? Thanks a lot. Okay, so this is a question that a lot of people want to know about. Do you wash your clothes? My answer is, personally, I wash what needs to be washed. So if there are any marks, if there are any smells, anything like that, absolutely I do wash. And when I do, I very intentionally use a laundry detergent that is like free from, so that's going to have like no added scents, no colors, no nothing like that. It's as basic as I can get in terms of I don't want to irritate anyone who may have irritable skin. It actually is not much more in terms of investment. I just have a large box of the detergent, liquid detergent on top of my washer that's specifically for my reselling items. That is free from. I actually use it for my family as well for the most part, but that is all I would use. I wouldn't use anything that was heavily scented. And the same goes for fabric softener. I don't use fabric softener. I'm very careful because I cannot tell you how many items I have ruined by putting them through the wash. Not really understanding fabric content or color bleeds and things like that. Like, it has definitely bitten me more than once. So I am very, very careful. Like I said, free from detergents, cold washes, like colors with like. And then when it comes to the dryer, the only thing I will do, even if it's just a standard like cotton polyester blend, will be an air dry, where basically no heat is added and it's like a cold cycle of air, and it takes longer. It's going to take like 1 to 2 hours sometimes to dry an item that way. Sometimes I'll hang dry, it just depends, but to me it's worth it because it really reduces that risk of me ruining an item by laundering it incorrectly. Okay, and the final comment that I'm going to be answering, comment number 5, so Kimberly Robinson. It says, Carly, do you cross-post all of your clothing items from Poshmark and eBay, or are you selective about which ones you put on eBay? Alright, good question. So I do have a cross-posting video that I will pop a card up as well in case anybody's interested in seeing exactly how I cross-post from each platform. I used to be selective is my answer. I used to be very selective in terms of like what went on Poshmark, and again that kind of curation vibe. And then I started like branching out and just putting everything over there from eBay pretty much, including men's clothing. Now there are some things very occasionally that I won't, but it has to be very occasionally. And then I started realizing that things do sell on Poshmark that I thought wouldn't. So things like Columbia, I have sold the last 5 pieces, I think it is 4 or 5 pieces of Columbia on Poshmark, not on eBay. And I kind of had written that off, thinking that that wasn't a brand anyone was going to be looking for there. So that kind of taught me to like open my horizons a little bit. I actually didn't put a lot of vintage over on Poshmark when I first started. I thought everybody only wanted those like newer higher end clothes and whatever. It's not true. I've made so many vintage sales over there. People definitely like that. There's a lot of different people shopping on Poshmark than I think a lot of us assume initially. So don't be afraid to experiment. At the end of the day, it's free to list on Poshmark. Worst case scenario, you delete the listing. Just remember though that when you cross post, you need to stay on top of it. So when something sells on one platform, you need to hop immediately over to the other platform and remove it, just to make sure, like, I'm not always worried that an item is going to sell immediately on the other platform. I should be so lucky that things would fly out the door that quickly, touch wood. But my main concern is that if I don't hop straight over and take care of it, I will forget. And then I'll end up with listed inventory on one platform or the other that I just don't have any more to hand. So that would be my tip when cross-posting. Alright you guys, I hope that that was useful. You guys give me as much education and as many tips as I try to give to you guys as well. I'm always learning from people who are much more seasoned than myself. And I thank you so much for sharing. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and please do hit subscribe if you haven't already so you can come back and hang out again. Don't forget to say hello in the comments, pop your questions or your tips down there as well so that I can hopefully pull from them for next week, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye you guys.